You have to be curious. You have to approach your business like a scientist approaches an experiment without attachment to the outcome. Hey, CEO fam, welcome to the CEO Desk with Brianna Marie. I'm coming at you today from my actual CEO desk. And as always, make sure you watch to the end of this video for this week's challenge. But today, we're talking about that brilliant idea you're sitting on, and you probably already know what idea I'm talking about. It's that one that you're still sitting on when you need to put that thing out there and start testing it, like now. Because the entrepreneurs that are out there making bank while delivering solutions to people's problems are the ones who are also out there collecting the most data. By the way, do you say data or data? I use both interchangeably because I haven't made my mind up about which one I prefer. So don't mind me if you hear me pronounce it both ways. But anyway, focus, Brianna. Back to what I was saying. The entrepreneurs that are out here making bank in their business are also the ones collecting the most data. And you can only collect data by actually executing. And I actually had to learn this the hard way. So let's get into it. Let me ask you this. How many ideas have you had in the last 90 days that you have not acted on yet? How many offers are still sitting in your notes app while you wait for the branding to be perfect, or for the kids to be back in school, or for you to have a little more energy, or whatever it is? And I'm not judging because I have been that person legitimately. And I also remember this one time where I spent months building out an entire program in secret. I was perfecting every module, designing all this content, mapping out the pricing, and adding all these cute little bonuses, and writing copy for all my promo. And when I finally launched, not a single soul bought it, like zero. Not even anyone on my email list purchased it. And I now know that it wasn't necessarily because it was a bad idea, but I was building it in a vacuum. I was guessing what my audience needed instead of testing it and letting them tell me. So let me introduce you to a concept that made all the difference for me. And that is treat your business like a living experiment. I've said it before on this channel. Just start now and start collecting data. But I want to go deeper on why today, because understanding this will change how you approach literally every single business decision. So think about the biggest companies in the world. For example, Netflix tests different thumbnail images for the same show for different users. Amazon tests button colors. Starbucks tests drinks in specific markets before a national rollout. These companies don't just launch and pray. They launch and measure. And you have access to the exact same capability. With every email you send, every reel you post, every offer you put out, that's data, but only if you actually send it, post it, put it out there. Data tells you what language your audience responds to, which problems they're actually willing to pay to solve, what price points feel like a yes, what content formats make people stop scrolling, and you cannot get any of that by constantly planning. You can only get it by executing. You gotta test your ideas out. So every time you hold back because something doesn't seem perfect to you, you're essentially choosing assumptions over evidence. And in business, assumptions can be expensive. And speaking of data-driven decisions, every week in my free 1 Million CEOs newsletter, I'm sharing the strategies, collaborations, and business growth opportunities that are actually moving the needle. And I'd love to have you join us over there. Link is in the description. All right. So as always, I'm going to help you out. I want to give you the step-by-step process I use in my own business. I call it execute, test, refine. Step 1 is execute. Launch the minimum viable version of your product. Just execute it. Launch the offer. Post the content. Send the email. Start the program with 5 people instead of waiting for 50. The goal here is not to be impressive. The goal is to be in motion, because objects in motion collect data. Objects sitting still just collect dust. So one thing I always ask myself, what is the smallest version of this I could test in the next 7 days? Step 2 is test, because a lot of people execute, but they don't actually look at and analyze the results. After every execution, I'm asking, what worked? What flopped? Where did people drop off? What got the most engagement, the most replies, the most, how do I sign up? You don't need fancy analytic tools for this, by the way. Sometimes it's literally just noticing which email subject lines got more opens, or which reel hook made people comment. That's testing. That's data. The key is you have to be watching, You have to be curious. You have to approach your business like a scientist approaches an experiment, without attachment to the outcome, but with intention about what you're learning. Step 3 is refine. And this one is important because I see so many entrepreneurs get one bad result and then they scrap the whole thing. No, no, no. A bad result is not a failure. A bad result is information. It's telling you to adjust the angle, not abandon the mission altogether. Maybe the offer is right, but the messaging is off. Maybe the price is fine, but the audience is wrong. Maybe the content format needs to change, but the topic is fire. Refine means you take what you learn and you build a slightly better version. Then you go back to step 1 and execute that version. Execute, test, refine, repeat. This is how you build a business that actually fits your audience. And I'm going to keep it real with you as always. The hardest part of executing isn't the logistics. It's fear of being seen before you're ready. It's the fear that if you put something out and it doesn't work, it means something about you. That fear of failing in public, a test doesn't necessarily have to convert into a verdict of your worth or your vision. It's literally just feedback on one version of one thing on one day. That's it. Every test that doesn't work the way you hope is just the universe giving you a more efficient path to the version that will. You didn't waste time, you bought data. And data is extremely valuable. Okay, CEO fam, challenge time, because we don't just watch videos over here, we implement. Your CEO challenge this week. I want you to identify one thing you've been sitting on, one offer, one piece of content, one idea, one outreach message, and I want you to execute the minimum viable version of it within the next 7 days. It doesn't have to be the full version, just the first version, the one you can use to start collecting data. And then I want you to come back and tell me what happened. Drop it in the comments. Tell me what you tested, what you learned, what surprised you, whatever you feel like sharing, because your experience might be exactly what someone else in this community needs, so they could finally see that they could take that step as well. So go execute, then come back and report. Deal? All right, listen, you don't have to have it all figured out to have a seat at the table. You just have to have the courage to pull up the chair. All right, that's all for me today. Get out there and start testing, and I'll catch you in the next one.